as you are in your comfortable seated position, I want you to close your eyes for a moment, go inside, and scan through your body. Maybe start at the top of the head. Just do a quick scan through all of your body and see if there are any particular parts that are speaking to you. And as you're doing that, you're breathing long, smooth breaths in and out. And asking yourself, like noticing how you feel. How do you want to feel when you're done with practice today? And then taking a moment to set your intention. And then when you're ready, you might gently open your eyes or keep them closed. We're going to start a little bit with the head. So sitting in your posture, right, shoulders over the hips, inhaling with your head in its upright position, then exhaling, bringing your chin towards your chest. And notice how it feels as you get closer to your chest, and then inhale, lift the head again. And when that feels complete, you're going to start to look over your shoulder. And again, moving the head to one side as you're breathing, a few times to one side, and then we'll do a few times to the other side. And again, you're noticing how it feels in your neck, your shoulders, and even your low back as we're sitting here turning the head. So almost every time we get together, low back comes up. Today's no exception. And then next time you come through the center, we're going to lift. You're going to stop moving your head, lift your shoulders up towards the ears, and then release them. So you're just lifting them up. Again, noticing all those other parts in the body as you're doing that motion. And then the next time they come up, let's bring them towards the back. So now you're rolling your shoulders back. So inhaling, shoulders up, exhaling, taking them down the back body. When you feel complete with that, we're going to settle with the hands on the ground. We're going to lift up that right arm and reach over to the side, and you're going to keep your butt on the floor. So sometimes we let, and your butt wants to come up, but you're going to keep it down, reach over. So you're stretching through your side body, and then you're going to turn your palm up and press like you're trying to lift the ceiling. So you're pressing. Feel your muscles engage as you press with that hand. Turn the hand down, come over to the other side, lift up that left arm. And again, slowly keeping your butt on the ground, slowly reaching over, stretching through the side body. And notice how your body wants to move as you have that arm lifted. And then we're going to turn the palm up and press. Andy to the rescue. All right, and again, so we're pressing, then you're going to turn that palm down, come on up, and let's roll through the body. Good morning. So here, I want you to feel the bottom of your pelvis, your sit bones, and how it feels on the ground as you're rolling through your body. We're going to pause, go the other direction. So and then when you feel done with that, you're going to stop. But I want you to know, like, how does that low back feel, right? Because a number of you talked about that. So we're going to take our feet after you've done your observation and bring them out into a wide, maybe as wide as your mat or a little bit wider, with your feet on the floor. Now what I want you to do is you're going to take your big toes down towards the ground and lift those little toes up. And if they don't listen to you, that's okay. Then little toes down, big toes up. And then switch again. So you're just going big toes down, big toes up. And then we're going to keep the big toes down while your little toes are up, and imagine or bring your pinky toes towards the ground. So I like the faces that I'm getting. All right, great, and then wiggle your toes. Now, keeping our feet like this, we're gonna take the hands to the inside of the legs, inhale, body up, and exhale, come forward. So again, inhaling as you come up, exhaling as you come forward, and you're noticing, again, what's going on in that low back as you're moving, and you're only moving in a way that feels good. And this next time that you come forward, you can grab onto your ankles or your toes, and you're going to take that chin towards the chest. Really allow your back to round. And then on an inhale, let's slide on up, and we're going to straighten out those legs so that you're in a little bit of a wide angle, not as wide as you can go. And we're going to point and flex those feet. Might make some funny noises like my heels on the ground. Okay, and when you're done with that, we're just going to stop. Now, body's upright. We're going to take those hands in front. We've been doing this quite a bit because I want you to try to get that movement through your pelvis. So it's not like trying to, and bring them in. And you can keep your knees bent, but I want you to think about the whole body moving forward, not just your head. So trying to get some movement here. Right? And if it doesn't work with your legs at the wide angle, you can bring them closer together. Right? All right. Now, next time you come up, let's find our tennis balls. I know I grabbed some. And we're going to place them under the front of your sit bones. Thank you. And so we've done this lots of times, right? I want you to gently move your pelvis, either front to back or side to side. And if tennis balls are too much for you, another option is to use your hands and just gently massage. And you might wonder why I do this often, but you know, the front and the back are connected. You know, we talked about hamstrings today. This helps with those connectors there. But we don't want it to hurt, right? So if it's hurting, either get rid of the tennis balls or move them. You're still breathing. And then, and you might try it with the tennis balls in a couple of different locations. Now, when you feel complete with that, we're going to go right into the center of your glute. So not under the bone, you're in the center of the muscle. And you're going to make your way over to the side. And we're going to carefully breathe. Keep breathing. And a lot of us, as I can tell by the breathing and the faces, you know, we store stuff in our bigger muscle groups and bone structures. But again, no like sharp pains or anything like that. And then again, some of you want to stay a little bit longer, some were done moments ago. We're going to do the second side, same thing right in the center of your glute. Coming over to the side. As you notice, I like to put a block under my elbow while I'm doing this, just because it allows me to focus more on the hips. Right. What were you doing? As we got into the hips, it was like, all right, now again, some of you will want to stay a little bit longer, and some of you will be done. The last one we're going to do with the tennis balls here is so your butt's on the ground, you're going to lean slightly forward, and then place the tennis balls behind your pelvis, and gently lean back into them. And I like to stay pretty much upright. Some of you will come down lower onto your elbows. That doesn't work for my body. And just like we did in the front of the pelvis, we're moving, you know, side to side or front to back. Breathing. And especially if the low back is tender, you want to be very gentle. I see everybody has blocks because we use them a little bit. All right, so from here, we're going to take those pencils out. Everyone's doing okay. I want you to reach for, let's just say the left leg, and hold on to the flexed foot, right? So your foot's flexed, and the knee, and just gently move side to side. And we're still getting information, right? Noticing how your body is feeling. And then we're going to turn our foot forward, and I want you to go front to back. And then we'll take that leg to the ground, reach for the other flexed foot, and again, side to side. You'll complete that, pointing the foot forward, and again, front to back. We're still breathing and noticing. And then let's reach for one of your feet, and we're going to stretch out the toes a little bit. And you all know I like to work on the feet and talk about the feet a lot. And there's such a connection into the hips and the low back and how we use our feet. So I just want you to massage through your feet. Notice if you notice anything. Stretch out your toes. You might lace the fingers into the back of the toes, or just stretch your toes out and roll through your ankle a little bit, a couple times in each direction. We're still breathing and taking in the comments that your body's telling us. We'll do the second side. Whenever you're ready, stretching out the toes, massaging the bottoms and tops of the feet, maybe interlacing through the backs of the toes and rolling through the ankle. Then as you start to feel done with that, we're going to let it go. We're going to come onto, and you might like to have your blocks towards the front of your mat. You might like to have a blanket underneath your knees. And so coming onto your hands and knees, and you can absolutely do this turned the other way on your back body in the same exact position. And so first, like, just have your wrists slightly in front of your shoulders, knees slightly behind your hips. I'm going to move the hips from side to side, like you're trying to sway your hips side to side. And you might find that the movement wants to get bigger or not as we're doing this. And eventually coming to a place in the center, we're going to inhale up here and notice what's happening in your core muscles, and then exhale down towards child's pose. And if puppy pose works better for you, where you have your hands forward and your head comes towards the ground, if that works better, you can do that. Again, just noticing what happens in the low back as we do this. Now, one of these times when you come towards child's pose or puppy pose, we're going to come up onto the fingertips and reach your wrists towards the sky and your forehead towards the ground. Doesn't matter if it comes down to the ground. Nice gentle stretch, full breathing. And then on one of your inhales, we'll come up to our tabletop position. I want you to stretch out your right leg. So we're going to look for our balance here, right? So we stretch out the leg, and then you're just going to bring in that knee and stretch it out. So inhale as you press the leg back. Exhale as you bring your knee in, and you could reach your head towards that knee as you bring the knee in. The next time your knee comes in, let's settle it onto the ground, stretch out your other leg. And again, same sort of movement, just moving through the leg, noticing all those sensations. You might bring your head towards the knee or not. And when the knee comes down, this is where you might grab onto your blocks. We're going to step the right foot forward and have that left knee behind your hip so you're opening the front of that hip flexor. Just taking a breath or two, making sure everything feels okay in your body. We're going to keep the left hand on the block or the floor. Take your right hand towards the right thigh and then gently bring your belly towards that inner thigh. On one of these exhales, let's turn back towards the ground. And now we're going to stretch out the front leg. And you'll walk your hands back or your blocks. And again, we're going to point and flex that foot. And one of these times, we'll keep the foot flexed, and then inhale, body up, exhale, body towards your straight leg. Again, noticing the low back as you're moving, because we want to pay close attention to it and how it feels. I just have this idea, let's do splits today. It's been a long time. All right, next time your body's up, we're going to bring in your right leg. Step that left foot forward, and again, the right knee is behind the hip. We're just going to pause here for a moment. Breathe. Taking in all the wonderful information from the body. Do you bring that front foot forward if you can? That would make your blocks higher. Yeah, there. Yeah. All right, and again, we're going to keep the right hand down on the ground and take the left hand onto the thigh and start to bring your belly towards that inner thigh. Long, smooth breaths. On an exhale, turning towards the ground, and then ever so gently straightening that front leg, walking your hands back, pointing and flexing your foot, gathering that information. And then when your foot is flexed next, we're going to keep the foot flexed. Inhale, body up, exhale towards your leg. Nice. So from here, next time your body comes up, we're going to take that foot flat on the ground and then turn your back toes under. So you're going to come through a lunge, but we're going to pivot our feet around and then have that block in front, or you can have two. So we have our feet in a wide angle. Your feet are parallel with one another, or you have your heels slightly out. And we're just going to bend one knee over the foot and straighten it. So inhaling as you come through the center, exhaling as you bend the knee and shift your feet. Again, you're noticing how hips are feeling, the legs as you're moving. And ever so gently, next time you finish the second side, coming through the middle, bending your knees, bringing your elbows onto your thighs. So now maybe your body's parallel with the floor, and then very carefully making your way up to standing, and let's walk those feet together. We'll find a tennis ball and roll through your feet. Is that a little too much? just think it's hysterical that this has never gotten old for me. Well, and lay down too, if that sounds like a good idea. We're gonna switch feet. So does anybody have a special balance? Not that it's special, but a particular balance pose you want to work on? Hop in anybody's head. I have lots of ideas.
Well, no one will want to do it, but dancer, but I don't even know if I can do dancer today.
Yeah, like with this being, I would say it's probably not the best one to start with anyway.
It's my favorite.
Tree is one of your favorites.
Tree modified.
Yeah.
So kindly.
And we'll do it a little bit differently. Okay. All right. So when you're done, hopefully you switched feet. I don't know if I said that. But... All right. So we're going to start feeling your feet on the ground about hip width apart. And then I want you to just rock front to back from heel to toe and kind of notice where your set point is today as you're moving front to back. And then we're going to pause for a moment and go side to side. Great. Well, find your spot in the middle where you feel really stable on the ground. And we're going to take our weight into the left foot, come up onto your right toes. And you could hold onto a wall or be in the center of the room. We're just going to pivot through that leg. Right? And you're noticing, right? We talk a lot about the outside of the hips and the low back, and you're noticing how that feels as you move down. Then we're going to do the second side. So weight comes into your right foot, you come up onto the left toes. And you're noticing things like, does your body pivot as you move the leg? Is it just the leg moving? No right or wrong, just noticing how it feels. Noticing your balance today. And it's really helpful to sometimes have a non-moving spot that you're looking at on the floor to help with balance and focus. We're going to take the weight into the left foot, come up onto those right toes and turn the knee out, and then just bring your heel in towards your ankle, right? So that's like the first part. You notice how that feels, right? Your hands could be at the heart center, on your hips, out to the sides, whatever helps you find your balance. And then ever so slowly, you're going to slide that foot up your lower leg. And you just don't want to put the pressure on your knee, so you're either above or below your knee. Now here, you're going to keep breathing. I want you to think about the possibility of lifting your left heel off the ground. You're just exploring that. It may barely release from the ground. It may come all the way up. And then one of these times when your heel is down, knee comes forward, foot comes down onto the ground. We're going to bring the hands onto the thighs. Inhale, body up, and just exhale halfway down and inhale up. So you're just, barely sliding your hands down your thighs as you're breathing, coming back to our center. Inhale is up, exhale is down. And next time you come up, we're going to take the weight into the right foot. Again, come up onto the left toes. Turn your knee out and gently place that heel on the inside of your ankle. Decide where you want to put your hands, connect with your breath, and then slowly, possibly start to bring your foot up the lower leg. Breathe and focus. And again, you're going to contemplate or lift your right heel up off the ground. You're still breathing, you're focused. And next time that heel comes down, we're going to turn the knee forward, foot comes back onto the ground, hands onto your thighs. Inhale, body up, exhale. This time come down as far as you want to in your forward bend. Inhaling up, exhaling down. do one more thing with this. So weight in the left foot, up onto the right toes, turn your knee out, slide the foot wherever it wants to come to, hands at the heart center, wherever it's comfortable, and then possibly reaching your arms up overhead. And then inhale, you might open your arms, and exhale, bring them back together. So our legs are somewhat stationary, and we're moving through the arms. Now you're going to find a comfortable place for your arms, and then one more time, we're going to contemplate lifting that heel off of the ground. And then hands back to the heart center, knee forward, foot comes down, weight into the right foot, up onto the left toes. Left knee turns out, slides up to some place that's comfortable for you. Again, possibly extending those arms up. Inhaling, open. Exhaling, bringing them towards one another. Moving with your breath. And you're going to find a spot that feels comfortable for your arms. And possibly lift that right heel off of the ground. Woo-hoo. And then hands come down, knee forward, foot comes down to the ground. One more time, hands onto the thighs. Inhale, body up, exhale all the way into your forward bend. And this time, let's inhale halfway up and exhale in towards your legs. Your knees are bent, and you're only coming down as far as it feels really good in your body. So next time that you're up, we're going to work on a variation of dancer pose, right? So again, you might want to hold on to the wall. You might want to use a strap around your ankle. We're going to reach for your right ankle. Take your heel towards your buttock. And then move your knee, maybe front to back. And we're not bringing it out to the side, not away from your standing leg, but just front to back. And then one of these times, keeping your knee slightly behind your standing leg, starting to press your ankle into the hand. And you could extend your other arm, you could lean your body forward. You decide where you want to go. Very nice. You're still breathing and exploring and noticing what feels good to you. So press the heel away from your buttock a little bit. And then when you're ready, you're going to inhale up, gently release that foot. Now before we do the second side, I just want you to one more time move from heel to toe, rocking through your feet. Notice if you use both sides, like big toe side and big toe side of your foot as you're rocking back and forth. And you're still breathing. And then when you're ready, we're going to reach for your other ankle. And again, at first, you're just taking the heel towards the buttock. Many of us get a stretch in the front of our thigh here. And then if it feels comfortable, you're going to start to take that knee front to back. Again, one of these times, keeping that knee slightly behind your standing leg and starting to press the ankle into the hand, taking the heel away from your buttock, maybe extending that arm, maybe bringing your body forward. Still breathing long, smooth breaths. Exploring, breathing. Again, when you start to feel complete, body comes up, gently release that foot onto the ground. And then step your feet out maybe as wide as your hips or a little bit wider. Bend your knees and you're going to roll through your hips. And switching directions. So from here, and I'm going to show you this a couple of different ways. I just have to have this shelving behind me. So some of you might want to make your way to a wall or something like that, or you can do it in the center of the room. We're going to use one block, and just for ease, so we're working towards our Natarajasana happening. So yeah, so if that helps you make a decision. So we're going to start with the block on your right side, right? And it's in line with your foot at first. Hands are on your body. We're going to inhale, body up. Exhale towards our forward bend and take the right hand onto the block. And we're going to step back with your left foot. And I have my left hand on my hip. It's wherever it helps you find your place more. Now from here, you're going to step your block forward just a little bit and lift up that left leg. And at first, your hips and shoulders are pointing towards the ground. And then if it's comfortable in your body, you're going to start to open up your hips and your chest. And the lifted leg, the foot is flexed, right, to help engage the muscles to hold you there. And then some of you will take that left arm and reach it up towards the sky. And your head is in whatever position feels good, looking towards the floor, straight ahead, or up towards the sky. Don't force it. And then some of you may want to, just like we did standing up, bend your left leg and reach for the ankle. Sugar cane pose. Or you might just bend the knee. Then we're going to let it slowly release and come back out the same way that you came in. Walk the block back, close your hips and shoulders, foot comes down onto the ground, step that back foot forward. Hands onto your thighs and slide on up. Make sure you're not dizzy. Take a few breaths. Roll through those shoulders. Any questions about that? How'd that feel? It's a pose that incorporates many different things, and so you can focus on the parts that work for you. Okay, so we're going to switch sides. So now the block is on the outside of your left foot. Again, inhale up, exhale down, placing your left hand on the block. We're going to step back with the right foot, hand on the hip. And again, when you're ready, walk that block forward a little bit, lift up your right leg, hips and shoulders towards the ground, foot is flexed, and then opening up the hips and the shoulders, finding a comfortable place for your head, maybe extending that arm up. Keep breathing. Maybe bend that top leg and reach for your ankle. And again, in your own time, extending your limbs and coming out just as slowly as you came in, hand to the hip, bending the front knee, stepping back into your lunge, then step that back foot forward, hands onto your thighs, and let's inhale on up. That's a good one for bringing up your temperature. Like, I felt like the heat rise throughout my body. Let's roll through those shoulders. So from here, I want you to bring your hands onto your low back. And not all of our bodies work in the same way, right? So you're bringing your hands someplace towards your low back, fingers pointing down, and reaching your elbows towards one another in the back, like opening the front, stretching your pecs a little bit. Now from here, and this is, I want you to think teeny tiny movement as opposed to like something that everybody would be able to see you move. So your hands are on the low back, your elbows are reaching towards one another. You're going to think about the possibility of opening up that front of your heart center. And maybe your shoulders start to come back a little bit, the head follows the body. So it's a very gentle standing back bend. And then on an inhale, easing your body up, releasing those hands. And then hands come to the front of the thighs, inhale body up, and exhale forward. Coming down to whatever place feels good. So you go as deeply as you want to. Inhale up, exhale forward. And then on one of these exhales in our forward bend, let's bend our knees. You might walk your feet wide. We're going to come into a little squat. So some of you might put a blanket under your heels or a block under your bottom. You might have your chin towards your chest and your back rounded. And so for some of us, being in this position doesn't work. You could have your back body against the wall, right? And because it gives you some nice support. And going as deeply as it feels comfortable. And it's nice to explore what feels really good in your body. So if you start to go into the squat and you're like, this does not work for me, then you find a position that does work for you and feels good for you. Long, smooth breaths. Now, in your own time, we're going to make our way onto our bellies. And so if you find that the front of your pelvis pokes into the ground, feel free to lay a blanket out the whole way, but don't just have a bunch of a blanket under your pelvis, right? You'll want it under the whole part of your torso. Make our way onto our bellies. Then just pause for a moment. You could have your head turned, or you could have your forehead on your hands. Finding a comfortable position. Now with this one, we're going to, the inhale is going to be our legs stretched out on the ground. The exhale, we're going to bend our knees and bring your flexed feet up towards the sky. So you're just bending and straightening your knees with your breath. Seeing if you could have the whole upper part of your body relaxed as you're here. And the next time that the feet come down to the ground, we're going to pause for a moment. And then bring the hands in line with your chest, with the elbows gently pressing towards your body. And again, this movement, you're going to decide how it works for you. The inhale, hands release from the ground, the head and the shoulders lift up. Exhale, come towards the ground. So you're just very gently lifting the upper part of the body. Inhale up, exhale down. And this series of movements that we're doing now is one of my favorite ways to gently stretch and strengthen the back body. And then again, we're going to pause for a moment. And then with your breath, we're going to put those two movements together. So inhaling, hands release from the ground, head comes up, shoulders, and you bend your knees. And again, exhale towards the ground. Inhale, lift. Exhale, come down. Finding a way to move that feels really good in your body. And the next time that you exhale towards the ground, we're going to take those hands and gently place them under our forehead again. And relax for a moment. And then bending both of your knees, carefully bringing your feet from side to side. And you're paying close attention as you move those feet, what's happening in the low back, your hips, pelvis. Next time we come through the center, we're going to bring the right foot towards the ground. And then possibly, you're going to slide your left hand out and reach for your left ankle. So we just did this standing up, but now we're doing it laying down on the ground. may hold your foot or your ankle, or you might just bend the knee. Now, if it sounds inviting in your body, you're going to press with that right forearm and lift your chest up and start to press the ankle into your hand. What's nice about doing the pose like this, we take the balancing part out so you can really focus on what's happening in your body. Again, as you start to feel complete with that, we're going to release the foot gently, take your forehead onto your right forearm, and then bend through the right knee, and again, reach back with your right hand towards the foot or the ankle. And again, you might not hold on to your foot, you might just bend the knee. And it sounds inviting, pressing down with that left forearm as you lift up your chest and press the ankle into your hand. Keep breathing. And again, as you feel complete with this, we're going to release the ankle, place that foot on the floor, bringing your head down to the ground so that your forehead is pointing towards the ground. We're going to bring the hands up in line with the chest. And then inhale, we're going to lift the head and the feet, and then possibly bring your forearms down to the ground. So it's a modified bow pose. And I like, in this position, I like to pull the elbows towards my body, and it helps to open up the chest a little bit. And of course, you all know if I ever say anything, you're like, what? Please ask questions. Okay. Now, notice how the front of your pelvis feels on the ground. Right? Is it connected to the ground? Where are you connected to the ground? What's happening in the low back? We're going to come towards the ground for just a moment. Now, when we come up this time, you have choice. You can go back to that same position that we were just in with your elbows on the ground, or you can bend both knees and reach for your ankles. And this time when you come up, coming into some level of bow pose. So options, holding on to the ankles or not. Right? You choose that position that feels good for you without forcing anything. You can also do one leg at a time. And when you start to feel complete, we're going to come towards the ground and carefully roll onto our back body. So thinking about what's the safest, easiest way for you to get yourself onto your back body. And here, before you get yourself all comfy, you might have a strap close by. And you might have a blanket or a block in your reach as well. So once you're on your back body, let's take those knees towards the chest. And you notice that we do this often, right? Because it helps us to relax the low back into the ground. And you might be stationary holding onto your knees, you might move side to side, or you might take your knees in a circular motion. And when you start to feel complete with that, we're going to carefully take the feet down to the ground one at a time. And so now your knees are bent, your feet are flat on the ground, as wide as your hips, fairly close to your buttocks. And we're just going to move through. So your low back is not going to leave the floor. You're just going to tilt through the pelvis. So inhale, tilt that pubic bone up towards the sky. Exhale, tilt towards the floor. You're just rocking through your pelvis front to back. Again, coming to a place where Feel comfortable. We're going to stop that movement. We're going to stretch up the right leg and interlace the fingers on the back of the right thigh. And so at first, I just want you to flex that foot and press towards the ceiling. Your right foot is still planted on the ground with the knee bent. So our inhale is going to be in this position with the foot pressing towards the sky, the thigh pressing into the hands, hands pressing into the thigh. Exhale, you're going to bend that knee and take it towards your chest. Inhale, extend and press up with the foot. Exhale, knee in towards the chest. And next time the knee comes in towards the chest, let's release the hands, gently put that foot on the floor. We'll do the second side. So extending the right leg up, and again, just starting by creating that isometric dance with your hands in the back of the thigh, pressing your foot up towards the ceiling, continuing to breathe. Somebody did say hamstrings today. And again, inhale with the leg straight, exhale, bring that knee in towards your chest. The whole time having this little dance of thigh and hands, breath. And once that knee is towards your body, we'll release the hands. And this is where I want you to find either a block or a folded blanket. And we're going to lift up the pelvis and place that blanket or block underneath your pelvis. And we're looking for a position that's fairly comfortable, right? The back of the head gently rests on the floor, the shoulders are down on the floor. We're going to reach one leg up at a time and come into a modified shoulder stand. So try to keep your chest open, long, smooth breath. And then, if you choose, I want you to take your thumbs to the top of your thighs and kind of push the muscle so that up towards where your pelvis is. So the thumbs are going right in that crease where your legs connect into your pelvis. I want you to make some space. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm moving that muscle out of the way. And you could do this with your knees bent as well as the legs straight. And we're going to inhale, legs away from the body. Exhale, bring those legs in towards your body. So for many of us, especially with our thumbs, moving those muscles out of the way, it's not a huge movement. Inhale away, exhale, legs towards your body. And next time you inhale and the legs are pointing up, you can release your hands and just point and flex your feet or roll through your ankles. Just pausing for a moment. If you decide that you want to move your legs in any sort of way, and also if the blanket or block under your pelvis doesn't feel good, take it out. So again, as you start to feel done with this, and some of you might want to stay here a little bit longer. Like, this is really wonderful for circulation of the legs and for helping induce relaxation. When you're ready, we're going to carefully bend the knees, take the feet to the ground one at a time, take out what's underneath your pelvis, gently bring your low back to the floor, and then we're going to walk the feet out as wide as your mat, and one at a time, bring one knee down towards the ground, and then lift it up, and then the second side. So you're trying to isolate moving that one leg at a time.
pausing for a moment and asking yourself, is there anything else that your body needs before you make your way into Shavasana, right? So asking yourself, listening for the response, and then thinking about how you might want to be in your Shavasana. So you might want a little support under your knees, or even a little roll down the center of your back. What would feel really good today? Sometimes we have positions that we love for Shavasana. Sometimes it's nice to try something a little bit different. So as you get yourself whatever position you want to be in, allowing your body and your breath to soften. Relaxing those muscles around the jaw, allowing a little space between your teeth, softening your eyes.
So, starting to bring your awareness to your breath and your body, possibly remembering how you want to feel it in practice, checking in. And then thinking about those slow, gentle movements to bring yourself up to a seated position. Just for a moment today, I'm going to invite you to, as you're seated, opening your palms up on your legs and taking your thumb, connecting it with your index finger. And I just want you to breathe. Inhale as you slide up the tip of your finger and exhale as you come down. So the entire time your thumb stays connected to your index finger, you're just moving with your breath. Movement is as quick or as slow or as big or as little as you desire. You're just moving your finger with your breath. So present to the connection of your breath and your body and your movement. You can do that for a really long time. Or I can do that for a really long time. All right, so when you're ready, you can release that, but thinking about that possibility of continuing that gentle breath. And kind of forget about it once the practice ends, but thinking about how can I keep that smooth, gentle breath as I move throughout my day. So I thank you all so much for being here, and I thank my teachers, past and present, and I acknowledge the ones that will. And I am truly grateful for all of you and for my body. And if you want to join me in all this, what I want to do today, I haven't done this in a while, but I want to do like a continuous home. So like you inhale and you make the sound home for as long as you want to, and then you inhale again. And so it's not necessarily